104.5 The Team, your home for New York Yankees baseball. Our friend Buster Olney, I drive him crazy every week, yet he still answers when I call him. That's what I call a true friend, Buster.
Absolutely.
Buster, okay, Yankee fans looking at CC Sabathia with a crooked eye right now. Is he the first real cause for concern that Yankee fans should have?
Yeah, I think there's cause for concern there. And CC, and I have not spoken to him in the last 2 weeks, but in watching his starts, the one thing you see is he's often spinning off at the end of his delivery toward the third base side, and it makes you wonder how healthy his front knee is. And CC's told me that as long as he's healthy, as long as that front knee is healthy, he thinks he can pitch for a long time because he can command the ball. If that front knee's not healthy, he's not going to be able to command the ball, and the Yankees, I'm assuming, at midseason would be looking for an alternative to CC because you're not going to keep rolling him out there with a 6 ERA.
But that's where you'd be looking, Buster, is like towards midseason, not any time in the near future.
No, not near future. But let's face it, one of the Yankees are in a different position with CC than they've been in the past because the end of the deal is in sight. It's not like they've got 3 years left on his contract and they kind of have to ride it out. They're at the position where if they start to believe that he's not going to get better, then they'll be able to. I think more freely go out and look for an alternative.
Would a series win or even a split with Houston finally be what the Yankees naysayers need to believe in them for?
I would hope so because they're looking pretty good. And I mean, this is a great series because the Astros and the Yankees right now are probably the two best teams in the American League. And I know from being in Chicago when the Yankees played the Cubs last weekend, the Cubs people were really impressed with the Yankees' depth, and that's what jumps out at you, that you can play an 18-inning game on a Sunday, give Aaron Judge the day off the next day, and you're still rolling out three good outfielders with Aaron Hicks playing well and Brett Gardner on a roll and Jacoby Ellsbury having a better season. And there's such a great vibe around the Yankees. I talked to Brett Gardner about it last weekend. It feels like it's the hungriest team, group of players that we've seen with the Yankees, and since the first years of Jeter, Rivera, and Pettit. And they're having so much fun. They're playing so well, and they know they're good. And here's the other part about the Yankees: they've got another layer of depth that we don't even see at the big league level down in the minor leagues. They've got guys down there who are ready to come up if they have a need.
Buster Olney with us right now, 104.5 The Team. We're getting fired up about these Yankees, but you said the name, Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter Day this Sunday. I know you covered him very closely for what, 4 years?
Yeah, for 4 years from 1998 to 2001, and without a doubt, the most confident position player I ever covered. He was absolutely convinced that he was going to, kick your butt, and I, it was interesting. I had a situation with him in which I heard a story during the 98 season, the year they won 125, that a ball fell among teammates. Derek was 24 years old at the time, and a ball fell among some of the Yankees on a pop-up when David Wells was pitching, and Wells put his arms out to his side like, what are we doing here? And at the end of the next day, I had a source within the Orioles organization who told me about how Jeter confronted Wells at the end of the half inning and basically said to him, look, we don't do that stuff around here. And the next day, and this story obviously made Derek look really good, and the next day I went up to Derek and I said, hey, I heard this, and he got so angry and defensive, and he said, that's not true, that's ridiculous. Now, I knew it was true,
right?
But I respected the fact that he was trying to keep it in-house, even a story that would have made him look good.
Buster, when we talk about Jeter, people try to quantify his greatness with the Yankees history, and you hear the Mount Rushmore of Yankees. Do you find a way to chisel him into that, or do you start a whole new mountain with him?
No, he wouldn't be on mine. I think for some other people they might put him in there. I mean, my goodness, there are only 5 players in the history of baseball with more hits. But for me, I would have Babe Ruth, I would have Lou Gehrig, I would have Mickey Mantle, and my fourth, and this is where I pretty much differ from everybody else, I would have Rivera as the fourth, because I think Rivera was the difference between the Yankees winning as many championships as they did and winning fewer championships. And I know some of the Braves players from the 90s believe that too, but I'm in the vast minority on that. Most people, I think, would probably put DiMaggio on there, and Jeter might be in the conversation for 5 or 6.
We're talking about Mount Rushmores with the Yankees. For Mets fans, we're looking to see what players they can send to the mountains and get them out of New York. Matt Harvey, what do you make of this situation involving him missing a game over the weekend, the apology, and everything in between?
Well, I tell you this. I think that if you're the Mets, the words out of Matt Harvey's mouth at that press conference he held after suspension were the best that you could hope for, as good as you could hope for, because he didn't make any excuses. He didn't blame anybody. You guys saw the stories coming out. It was clear that someone was trying to leak excuses to give him cover, talking about a migraine, talking about, miscommunication, and those were published on Matt's behalf. They were leaked out on his behalf. He didn't use any of it. And they were absurd, and Matt basically said, no, it's on me. We'll see what direction he goes. I think the Mets clearly, when they just made the decision to suspend him, this is the last straw situation. They've been upset with about stuff for a while, to the point that, before that press conference, I wrote a piece about folks with other teams were wondering if the Mets would consider, as they try to alter the behavior of Matt Harvey, of going to a nuclear option and sending him to the minor leagues, which they have the right to do. He has less than 5 years of service time. He hasn't pitched that well, and they could basically tell him, look, if you don't start acting the way we need you to act, then we're going to send you to Binghamton, and you can work it out there. And, of course, there would be a real threat in that for Harvey, because they held him in the minor leagues for long enough this summer, then they would delay his free agency by a year, potentially, from 2018 to 2019. The Mets probably aren't close to doing something like that or even thinking about it, but I think Harvey's got us. I wrote the other day, this is a crossroad in his career right now, and he has to start focusing on work, because there's a lot of concern within the industry that he's someone who doesn't put himself in a position to succeed at baseball.
Buster, can you imagine the worlds colliding of like Matt Harvey and Tim Tebow in Binghamton?
Well, they're probably, oh boy, can you? And of course there would be the reporters would be wondering how much time Matt Harvey and Tim Tebow would be spending together off the field.
I'm a little hesitant to ask this next question because I think Buster might think it's ridiculous, but I'm going to ask it anyways. 18-inning game, Yankees. You go 18 against the Cubs. Some suggest that maybe you need to have ties in baseball when games go too long. Your thoughts on ties in baseball?
I hate the idea. I loved the 18-inning game the other day when there's the two teams approached 500 pitches. I thought that was cool. They finished with 583. I thought it was cool. 6 hours and 5 minutes, 48 strikeouts, a record. I thought that was all really interesting, and I'm going to remember that game the rest of my life, like a lot of these games. But I can flat out tell you that the game, the way it's trending, absolutely is toward either ties after a certain number of innings, and 12 probably would be the number, or WBC rules where you put a guy at second base in extra innings to try to push the game toward resolution, because you see how the game is trending. Pitch count limits, pitch limits. No more home plate collisions, no more takeout slides at second base. And when these games happen, like the other night, what you hear a lot from teams is, look, players are at increased risk for injuries, relievers are overextended, they're at increased risk for injury. It's not a good situation. I think the teams and the players are united in that they probably would be open to an alternative. I think within the next 5 years that happens.
Buster Olney right here on 104.5 The Team. Buster, are you guys at the stadium Sunday?
We are at the stadium Sunday for the Derek Jeter Day, including the pregame ceremony. So fired up. We're hoping the weather forecast for Saturday is awful, and we don't know what Sunday's going to bring, but we're hoping it'll clear up.
Well, it's Jeter, and even God loves Jeter. So the clouds will part and the sun will shine.
See, you've been watching his career. You know exactly what's going to happen, right? I mean, the man got a walk-off hit in his last at-bat in Yankee Stadium. What does that tell you?
Somebody upstairs loves them some Derek Jeter.
Exactly.
Buster, thanks so much, man. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.